Chapter 4. After his bath and some quiet reflection, John instructed Vlad to inform Roderick that he would be retiring to his chambers. He also ordered messengers to recall the closest guard patrols, intending to assemble a raiding party to strike at the bandit hideout the following day. The next day, 27 hardened men, comprising half winter guards and half of Carhold garrison, stood at attention as John, clad in leather armor, began to speak. "Men, today I called you here to hunt down some bandits, as some of you no doubt heard from your fellow soldier who witnessed the execution. This pest are living off your fellow man's hard work, hiding like cowards in woods and preying on the weak and defenseless. The old gods rule these lands. For as long as I have blood in my veins, I will never let my people suffer. Kill the heretics, burn the non-believers, and bring iron and blood to your enemies. How is with me?" Silence at first, but slowly a chanting began. "Red wolf, red wolf, red wolf, red wolf, red wolf, red wolf. Then what are you waiting for? To your horses, we march on those cowards at once." The men, all armed with spears and swords, formed a disciplined line as they began their trek through the forest road. 2 scouts led the way, their keen eyes scanning the dense foliage ahead for any sign of danger or the enemy's presence. The air was thick with anticipation, each step bringing them closer to their quarry as they pressed onward through the ancient woods. The bandits grew increasingly wary as the second team failed to return. Fear spread among them, knowing that increased patrols on Grey Stark's land made their plundering more difficult. Suddenly, they felt a slight tremor, a subtle warning of impending danger lurking in the forest. Then it happened. A man, taking a piss near the camp, suddenly spotted a spear hurtling through the air. Before anyone could react, horse-mounted men emerged from the woods, descending upon the unsuspecting bandits. Chaos ensued as the attackers swiftly overwhelmed the camp. Bandits, caught off guard, were cut down left and right, their screams echoing through the forest as they fell. Some were caught with their pants down, quite literally, as they scrambled to defend themselves to no avail. In just 4 minutes, it was all over. The attackers swiftly routed the bandits, leaving behind only 3 survivors. These men, standing back to back in a circle of spears and armed men, faced their inevitable fate. One of them, lacking trousers and armed only with a knife, looked particularly pathetic. Another brandished a sword, while the third, unfortunate soul, had chosen the worst possible time to relieve himself and was caught mid-action, with his pants down, holding nothing but a wooden plank. Slowly, a path cleared within the circle of men, and John emerged, clad in clean clothes but with blood staining his sword. Despite his youth, he stayed back, allowing the seasoned soldiers to handle the aftermath. However, some fleeing bandits made the mistake of crossing his path, underestimating him due to his age. One such bandit, driven by desperation, attempted to knock John from his horse, only to find himself swiftly dispatched by the young lord. Now, he lay in the dirt, another casualty of the day's events. "Drop your weapons," John commanded. With John's commanding voice echoing through the clearing, the bandits, realizing they were outnumbered and outmatched, reluctantly dropped their weapons. Facing each other with a mixture of fear and resignation, they complied with John's order, knowing that their options were dwindling rapidly. With a stern gaze, John pronounced the sentence upon the bandits. "I, John Greystock, Lord of Deepwood Motte, in the name of King Robert Baratheon, first of his name, sentence you for robbery, rape, and killing in cold blood, crimes punishable by hanging from your own entrails in the godswood." Case closed. After the bandits were taken, screaming and crying, to be executed, John turned to his head of the guard, Henry, and asked about the casualties. 27 on the bandit side, Lord, none for us. Only a broken leg and a head injury, one from a guard who fell after running a bandit through, and another from being pulled off his horse and hit with a pan on the head until the aggressor was subdued, Henry reported. That's very good, not a loss, John remarked. To be fair, Henry said, they weren't expecting us, sir. No sentries, no trenches, and some didn't even get to pick up their weapons. It was like cutting grass. The last patrol had losses because they were jumped. Okay, give the order, take everything of value. Share 70% among the guards and bring the rest to the castle. We're moving out in 30 minutes. They didn't have much, John commanded. As the soldiers observed John's swift and decisive action against the bandits, a newfound sense of respect began to emerge. They saw him not just as a young lord, but as a leader who was willing to take bold steps to protect his people and maintain order in his domain. His willingness to confront the dangers head-on instilled a sense of confidence in the men under his command. Yet, alongside that respect, there was an underlying sense of fear. They had witnessed the ruthlessness with which John dealt with those who threatened the peace and security of Deepwood Motte. The image of the bandits meeting their gruesome end served as a stark reminder of what awaited any who dared to cross John Greystock. As Henry reorganized the soldiers and prepared them for their upcoming patrols, whispers circulated among the men. Some spoke of John's bravery in the face of danger, admiring his unwavering resolve. Others whispered of the chilling sight of the bandits meeting their fate, a reminder of the consequences of defiance. For John, earning the respect of his men was paramount. He knew that maintaining order in Deepwood Motte required the loyalty and dedication of those who served under him. And so, he made sure to lead by example, demonstrating both strength and compassion in his actions. As the soldiers geared up for their patrols, there was a sense of determination in the air. They knew that the threat of the bandits still loomed large. As John entered his solar, the weight of responsibility settled heavily upon him, only to be compounded by the grim news delivered by Roderick. The ambushes along the coastal roads and in the Wolf Woods had resulted in a devastating toll, 7 guards dead and 5 wounded. The news struck John like a physical blow, the reality of the ongoing threat crashing down upon him. Each loss felt keenly, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked beyond the safety of Deepwood Motte's walls. Roderick's solemn expression mirrored John's own concern as they exchanged a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation. It was clear that the bandit threat was far from eradicated, and the recent attacks underscored the urgency of the task at hand. John absorbed Roderick's report with a furrowed brow, the weight of the losses heavy on his shoulders. More men, he murmured, contemplating the grim reality of their situation. If this continues, we'll be drained of guards within a year, and morale will plummet long before then. The urgency in Roderick's voice resonated with John, reinforcing the pressing need for reinforcements. John's mind raced with the memory of Astapa, where masters forged armies from the innocence of youth. But unlike those masters, John envisioned a different path. With determination, he resolved to send word throughout his lands, calling upon the young and willing, aged 14 to 25, to join a standing guard. It was not to enslave or exploit, but to protect and defend. In his vision, these volunteers would be trained not as mere soldiers, but as guardians of their homeland, entrusted with the safety of their families and communities. It was a bold move, but one born out of necessity and a deep sense of duty. Indeed, the realization struck John hard. Calling for volunteers was one thing, but equipping and outfitting them properly was an entirely different challenge. As he surveyed the meager resources of Deepwood Motte, John knew that he faced an uphill battle. The army lacked sufficient weapons, the stores were depleted of supplies, and there were barely enough clothes to go around, let alone provide for a new force. It was a daunting obstacle, but John refused to be deterred. With determination burning in his heart, he set about devising a plan to address each shortfall. He sought out local craftsmen to forge weapons and armor, negotiated with neighboring lords for additional supplies, and tasked the castle's seamstresses with sewing uniforms and bedding. Every available resource was mobilized in service of his vision, as John worked tirelessly to ensure that his fledgling guard would be adequately equipped for the task ahead. Midst the challenges, there were glimmers of hope on the horizon. The emissaries returned with promising news. They had successfully negotiated the purchase of herds of animals from nearby lands. John's directive to procure any available livestock paid off, as goats and woolly cows from the mountain clans were among the acquisitions. This bolstered their food supply, offering a diverse range of options to sustain the people of Deepwood Motte. Furthermore, the completion of the port heralded a new era for the coastal town. Craftsmen worked tirelessly to launch new fishing boats every 5 days, signaling a resurgence in maritime activity. Fishermen eagerly set out to sea, casting their nets in anticipation of abundant catches. With each haul, the food situation improved incrementally, alleviating some of the strain on the castle's dwindling coffers. Yet, despite these positive developments, the financial strain persisted. The expenditure required for these endeavors took its toll on the treasury, leading to a gradual decline in funds. It was a delicate balancing act, ensuring that necessary investments were made to secure the future while managing the immediate financial constraints. The craftsmen who worked on the port were now being redirected to build garrison buildings within the 3 walls near the common folk area. The first recruits were arriving. They would train, work, and learn to fight from the more skilled Winter Guard soldiers, with John sometimes joining in to polish his swordsmanship when he was not busy. The recruits would train for a year and then join the Guard, or they would return to their homes after signing a contract to respond when called to arms. The training sometimes included carrying logs to builders, cutting trees, and carrying rocks. This not only helped them get stronger for fighting with arms but also solved some of John's workforce problems. Drawing solely from the lands under his stewardship, John embarked on a fervent recruitment drive. He traversed the rugged terrain of his domain, seeking out able-bodied men willing to heed the call of duty. From the bustling villages nestled in the valleys to the remote hamlets dotting the mountainsides, John rallied his fellow countrymen to the cause. Some were farmers accustomed to toiling the earth, their calloused hands now destined to wield swords and shields in defense of their homes. Others were craftsmen, their skills honed in the forge or the woodshop, now repurposed to fortify the walls that safeguarded their families. Each recruit brought with them a unique set of talents and experiences, yet all shared a common bond forged in the crucible of their shared heritage. With their combined efforts, the charred remnants of the wall left by the Ironborn's onslaught were gradually transformed into a bulwark of renewed strength and resilience. Working side by side, the recruits labored tirelessly, their determination unwavering even in the face of adversity. And as the seasons changed and the passage of time marked another milestone, John found himself on the brink of his 14th year. Though still young by many standards, he had already proven himself a leader among his peers, guiding his people through times of trial and uncertainty.